So what we're going to do now is go up the blank, and then when I get to this spot right up here, I'm going to stop and make a mark because that's where my trim tab is going to go. Alright, so I'm right up by it, and I'm going to just take the China marker and put a little mark on the thread. You can see right here that that mark is on my thread, and that's where my trim tab is going to be when we get to that phase of the guide. It's not really showing up too well, but trust me, it's there. So now that I'm near the end, insert my whip finisher. Finish off the thread by covering the mark that I made at the other end. Apply pressure with my left thumb. And I go through the whip finisher and actually pull that thread through and then pull it back through. So the under wrap is done. Now I need to add my trim tabs. And what I'm gaps out of the thread so that it will be presentable when it's finished. So you can see I have that done, and then I need to close up these gaps and get that all nice and tight together, because I have another one that's got to go right next to it. Okay, so that one's good, and then I got to put a matching one right next to it. Insert my whip finish. I'm going to come back up here around the top. I'm going to cut this trim tab off. Forgive me for blocking the camera. I needed to get that before it got back around there again. Cut that off. Pull that back through and then pull tight on that trim tab a little bit just to make sure everything's in there snug, because there's nothing worse than when you go to put finish on and having that trim tab pop off. So I'll go around here and make sure that everything is all nice and even. And there are my trim tabs. Now on this rod we're doing here, this is that jigging rod. It's going to have a spiral wrap on it. So what I need to do is make sure that everything is lined up correctly with this first guide and get that all lined up correctly. So I'm at my 0 degree axis. If you were looking at a compass, this is going to be the guides are going to be at 0 degrees, 270, and then 180. So what I actually have on my lathe is a 90-degree angle stop. So at every 90 degrees it will stop. So what I do is start the over wrap. And you want that guide foot to be running parallel up the blank. So got that on there, and I'm going to complete this wrap, which is going to be a double layer wrap of black. When the line backs up on itself, you got to stop and go back. It's always more susceptible to do that when you're coming back down the guide foot than it is going up, because up it climbs on itself, but when it's going down it has a tendency to fall off and actually go across itself. So what I've done there is gone a little too far. So I'll pull that back and then insert my winding check. And then and bring that to the end. Go through the whip finisher. Pull that snug and then trim that line off, and then make sure that I don't have any no tag end coming through. And I'll go to the other side and do the same wrap on the other side. Cut the extra off and go up. Now what I can do here, I've seen that I have a little space, so I take my burnisher and move some of those threads and get that all nice and smooth again. And then keep going down. Go to the very end. And cut that one off. Make sure I have nothing left sitting there, and then I'm going to add my trim bands at each end, and the wrap will be complete. So you can see as I'm going the whole time, I'm making sure I'm keeping everything square, everything in a nice line. And then when I'm done, I'll go around and tighten it up and make it a little narrower. That's a 5-wrap thread, or 5-wrap trim band. I can go down to 1 or 2, but as you get smaller, they get more time consuming, and you just have to make sure that you're doing everything precise and you're getting everything nice and tight. So that's the biggest issues. So that's that one. And then you also notice here what I do on each rod. When I'm building on a lathe like this, I put the low-tack tape, especially on a white blank or any other color besides black. I put the tape between each guide. That way I know that my rollers are not going to leave marks on the guides, and everything will stay clean. The more that I can do in the beginning to keep these blanks clean, that's less that I have to do at the very end when I need to get ready to put finish on. So the winding check gets inserted. Cut off that tag end. Pull that out and pull it tight.